Thank you very much for joining me yet again here on Sport On. The last few shows of 2019, of course, 2019 has been filled with a lot of highs and a lot of, of positive stuff. On here on the show on Newsroom Africa channel 405. Before the break, I was speaking to Linda Zondi, who spoke a lot about cricket in terms of what the squad is shaping up for that first test against England on Boxing Day. I want to move the conversation a little bit now to some football, and I'm joined by a very familiar face in South African football, Phumudzo Manenzhe. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. And of course, you're doing some amazing stuff. And before we get to the amazing stuff, I want to speak a little bit about how the transition has been like from the football field to an analyst. How's that gone?
Afternoon to you and afternoon to the viewers. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy transition. You always have to plan for how you want to exit the football. But at the end of the day, God has the last word. Yeah. And in my situation, I was a little bit frustrated because I thought I still had a lot of years to play. I had to retire because of injuries. And that's when I was starting to question my God, to say, God, you said this is my career and you're going to look after me with this career. But when I got injured, I thought, what next? But fortunate enough is I've got a dad that was very strict growing up. He had forced me to do my matric. He forced me to get tertiary education. And today I can smile looking at why was he so hard on me to get that education, because when I got injured, that's when the education kicked in, and that's where the life after football had to start.
How important is it, though? Because the general trend in South African football, especially for ex-players, is that once they finish the game, they sort of, fall by the wayside, and not a lot of them make it, in football structures, whether it's administrative or going into broadcast. How important is that? How important is to get an education so that that, after football, and you rightly mentioned that injuries play a major part in a professional footballer's career. How important is the education so that you have something to fall back on?
Education is very important because it gives you something to fall back on. And in my situation, and not a lot of people know that I've got a certificate in television production. So I already had an idea of what is expected of me when I go in front of the camera, And the other thing is, it's not a lot of opportunities that are there. You can either be a coach or a football analyst. How many football players are there in the world, for you to fight for that very same thing? But the other thing is the discipline on and off the field. That is the advice that I can give to the current players at the moment, to say the discipline is very important, because there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of clients that wants to work with us life after football, but the key thing is the discipline. Which kind of person do these companies want to associate with? That is the other most important thing. At the moment, I'm working with a lot of companies. I work with the likes of Absa, Carling, Telkom, just to name a few. Those are brands that I'm working with because they want to associate with me because of that discipline that I had on the pitch and off the pitch. So that is the advice that I'll say to these players that are playing now at the moment, to say, watch out what you do on the field and off the field. But the key thing is, we're in 2019. What you post on social media is also very important,
critical,
because people don't now ask you for your CV and all of that. They go to your social media and they check what are you doing on that social media. So it's very important how you paint yourself as a person.
Do you have to play football professionally to make it in terms of being in the production space? Because I think the debate has always been, you have to play football. You have to at least play at a certain level of the game to have a bigger voice. Do you feel that is the case where footballers are concerned, or non-footballers are concerned, to make it in the broadcast space?
Obviously, the broadcast space is very broad, and just to quickly inform and educate the viewers. You can be a producer. You don't have to have played football. You can direct a show. You don't have to have played football. You can be a script writer. You can be a researcher for television production. That does not need you to have played football. But there's also the thing of people a person that is talking from experience. That's where the analysts come in. You know, they want somebody that has been on the pitch, have done it, experienced it, and now giving his own opinion or his own view, which is very important. But for any young kid sitting at home that wants to be in the seat that you're sitting in, yes, you can do a journalism course. Yes, you must be able to get out of me what you think the nation wants to hear out of me. And that you cannot do without education. That you cannot do without the experience of going to school and being taught how to do these things.
Of course. Let's move the conversation slightly now. And I know that you have a foundation in the Phumudzo Manenzhe Foundation. What kind of work do you do there? Because, you know, yet again, you know, a lot of the players, when they are still playing, they don't think about life after football and giving back to the game that's given them so much of who they are and what they are. What happens at the Phumudzo Manenzhe Foundation?
The Phumudzo Manenzhe Foundation is a foundation that I started with my mom and my little sister. Obviously, my other siblings, who are my younger brothers and older brothers, were also involved in this thing. Obviously, every time now and then when I went home during the festive season, I'd want to go and visit these teams that I used to play for, the teams in my region, just to go and give them coaching clinics. But the frustration was the sporting equipment that was not there. Because the one time I went there and they were having a small-sided game, the boundaries of the small-sided games, there were stones. The goalpost was a stone. They were playing one pal. And I thought, okay, this is a hazard. If one of the players falls there, he's gonna get injured. And that was the frustration. Then I said, okay, I'm gonna start a football tournament that is not about money. It's gonna be about sporting equipment, so that these players can be able to have soccer balls, because they had one soccer ball. I thought, okay, start a tournament where these players are gonna win sporting equipment, talking about balls, bibs, cones, stopwatches, coaching boards, all of these simple things that we might think are not important. There are people that can't get to those things. And the other reason why I started the foundation is I come from a very rural background. I come from the villages. And I thought one thing that I need to do in terms of giving back was to inculcate that sense of hope into any young person growing up in the village, to say where you come from does not determine where you're going to end up. And that's why I started this foundation. The other thing was to start a foundation so that I can install hope and also make these kids proud of their culture and where they come from. There's a lot of people that are not proud of where they come from, but we need to love ourselves and our culture. Also started the tournament or this foundation to make sure that, especially now during this festive season, I want the youth to be involved in meaningful activities. And how about a football tournament? It's not only about the football tournament that we do. On Christmas Day, what I usually do, I've got an adopted orphanage home, which is called Tonda Rushaka Orphanage Home. What I do there is I go and buy groceries. Me and the team of the Phumudzo Manenzhe Foundation, we go and cook lunch for these kids. We cook dinner for these kids. We leave groceries for them to be able to last them for a couple of weeks. I know I don't have so much funds that they can last the whole year, but for that month of December, I always try and make sure December towards January that they're taken care of. Who wants to see a child or a youth that goes hungry on Christmas Day? The last one is on the 28th of December every year. We have the fun walk. The fun walk is all about healthy living. It's all about exercising. Does not mean that healthy living you have to go to a gym and pay membership and do all of that. All the exercises, all the chores that you do, walking around, that's healthy living. That's what we want. We want an active village. We want an active community. And that's why we've got the fun walk on the 28th. The other vision for the fun walk is to really assist the young ladies in terms of sanitary towels, dignitary packs. Because growing up as a youngster or as a young man in Vent, I used to ask myself, obviously there was these other two ladies that I had a crush on. These two ladies I had a crush on in class, you know. But one thing that I did not understand, why every month these ladies, they don't come to school for 3 or 4 days. And the teachers are not upset with these ladies that they did not come to school. Little did I know, because I was still young at that time, to say, okay, when they are not at school, it's because they don't have that sanitary towels, they don't have the dignitary packs to be able to come to school. So they were ashamed that during that period, they cannot afford to come to school. So that's why I've started the fun walk. And that's why I'm saying, when people come to the fun walk, bring those dignitary towels and assist these young ladies.
And I guess that speaks to a culture of giving back. And I know you're sort of an inspiration to the guys, to a lot of youngsters back in your hometown. How important is that to be a really good role model to the youngsters that are growing up back in Venda? Not just the young boys, but the young girls also.
Obviously, as I said earlier, where you come from does not determine where you're going to end up. And that's why I thought, okay, when I was growing up, I never had that role model that I could see and interact. I did not have that role model that was speaking Venda on TV.
Yes.
That I want to say, I want to be like that guy that speaks Venda on TV. Yes, you understand. So I did not have those things, but in God's mercy and grace, I kept believing in that dream to say, one day I want to see myself on TV being a professional footballer. And that happened. Now there's a sense of people that are not believing in themselves.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, what about going back to the community, interact with these very same people that might not be believing in themselves that they can make it because they are coming from a rural area.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, I'm going to start this foundation. When I go home, when people are going on recess, I'm not on holiday. When I'm at home, I'm in the community. You come to my house, you won't find me. They'll redirect you somewhere else to say, oh, he's involved with coaching clinics there. Oh, he's with the orphanage kids playing marbles there. That's the way I am. And that's why I'm saying to these young kids, all these questions that are asking, they might seem silly. But the way you answer that question when a young person or this a young kid is talking to you, you might inspire that thing. So let's always show that positivity around our communities.
Before I let you go, I need more details on when that tournament is happening and what are some of the challenges that have gone or have been faced by getting equipment and some of the donations that people can donate towards.
Obviously, on Christmas Day, I'm at the Tondarushaka Orphanage Home. That's where we're going to cook the lunch for the kids and also have activities like gumboots dance, play marbles with the kids. That's on Christmas Day. Today, as we speak, the quarterfinals are underway.
Yes.
There's already 2 games that have played. We are on our 3rd game now. That is the quarterfinals. The semifinals of the football tournament is going to happen on the 26th. That's where the semifinals are going to be played in the morning. The finals is going to be played later on the day. Okay. But one initiative or innovation that we have come with this year into the tournament is we're going to have a curtain raiser. And that curtain raiser is going to be the Gogos.
Okay.
The Gogos are going to play against the other Gogos in the community.
Okay.
There is also a ladies team in the community. So those 3 teams, what we're going to do to those 3 teams, we're going to mix the players, come up with 2 teams that are going to play each other as curtain raisers. And that's such brilliance from the team that I work with, the likes of Colbert Records or Trinity, Mushadu. They are the people that are assisting me behind the scenes. They have come up with that initiative to say, let's have the Gogos do the curtain raiser. But the one other thing that we love is, in this Gogos team and the ladies team, they are coached by 2 ladies. What we are going to do with those 2 ladies, we are going to ask the teams that are qualified to the final to have those 2 ladies sitting in as the second assistants so that they learn how to deal with the pressures of the game. So we want to initiate these ladies to be involved more in football. The last one, obviously, is the fun walk that is happening on the 28th of December. And yeah, you asked me a question about the challenges. I'm doing all of this from my own pocket.
Yes.
And I would, if there's any company that is listening out there, we really need the assistance. We need sporting equipment. We need to give hope to these kids. We also need sponsorship so that we can be able to help this orphanage home, not only in December, want to help them throughout the year. Yeah. Want to help the young ladies with the sanitary towels and everything. So if there's anyone that wants to get in touch with me, it's at the ball 27 on Instagram, it's at the ball 27 on Twitter, and it's at Phumudzo Manenzhe Foundation on Facebook.